Stop the press, stop the count. Joel Embiid deserves to be your NBA MVP. Look, I know there's a lot of basketball left in the season, still a lot to go down, but that performance from Joel Embiid tonight is nothing short of special. That he went and took on the defending champion Denver Nuggets on the night of a back-to-back after he just dropped 41 points against the Houston Rockets less than 24 hours before. And to see him put forth an even more impressive performance, it really is astounding. The things that we're seeing from him on a night-to-night basis are completely special. This cannot be overlooked. The historical level that we're seeing from Joel Embiid, the best individual season we've ever seen from a Sixers player, Wilt Chamberlain included, Dr. J included, Allen Iverson included. This season from Joel Embiid is the real deal. That these Sixers just had a statement win over the Nuggets. I want to dive into everything here. I want to begin by kicking it off with just the overall box score. 126 to 121. The Sixers got the win. They outscored the Denver Nuggets 27-17 in the fourth quarter. A matchup that was incredibly fun to watch. Probably my favorite game of the season so far. That through the first half, it was a high-flying, high-paced game. Ultimately, was 78-78 at halftime. The Nuggets jumped out to a little bit of a third-quarter lead. And then Joel Embiid took us home. That a very impressive victory and led by the big fella himself. That we know that there's so much about matchups and so much about this specific matchup. Two of the best centers in the game. That's just the 8th time that they've ever played in their history. And we know all the noise, all the ducking. There's plenty of comments made about that to Joel Embiid. And it was cool to see him step back on the floor once again on the second night of a back-to-back after he just previously missed the past 10 games with a knee inflammation issue, and to see him deliver and play his best basketball. To dive into specifically what Embiid did tonight, take a look at this box score. 41 points. He had 10 assists, 7 rebounds, had a block, shot 13 of 22 from the field, 3 of 6 from beyond the three-point line, and those 10 assists are especially noteworthy to me. There was some interesting defensive techniques done on both sides of the floor where it was not the Joel Embiid versus Nikola Jokic matchup. We did not get to see this King Kong versus Godzilla, two big men going one-on-one very often in this matchup. More often that in each case, it was a different defender and then these guys kind of sagging off. Now, from the Sixers' perspective, that makes a ton of sense. That Joel Embiid is a guy who's an excellent rim protector. He's capable of cleaning up the mess of teammates when they are beat off the dribble or beat off a cut, and then Embiid comes off and cleans up as a blocking a shot or just altering a shot, protecting the rim in the way that he's very elite at. Doesn't make quite as much sense for the Nuggets because Nikola Jokic just lacks that type of athletic ability. He is not an above-the-rim threat or a guy that can rim protect really to a very high level whatsoever. But it was interesting that they did keep them off each other and Embiid punishing whoever it was that was on him. To dive into their two stats together, I did want to touch on this. As you can see, Joel Embiid with 41 points, 7 rebounds, 10 assists. And then Nikola Jokic with 25 points, 19 rebounds, and 3 assists. Now, Jokic played a pretty solid game as well. This is not a shot at him. The Nuggets, in fact, played a very good game as a team, but the story of the game was Joel Embiid and the Sixers. That this was an MVP performance. This was a statement in front of the home crowd. He was DX chopping. He was doing the whole deal, hyping up the crowd. He was Joel Embiid in his purest form. And you know what? It does seem like the league took notice. That to jump into the MVP odds before this Sixers-Nuggets game, Nikola Jokic leading the way at plus 165 with Joel Embiid at plus 800 behind him. After that Nuggets game, Nikola Jokic at plus 250 and Joel Embiid at plus 275. Now, there's other guys that will be in the mix for this matchup. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is a guy that, frankly, I think has been more in the running than Nikola Jokic at this point in the season. I don't think it should be overlooked, the things that are going on in Oklahoma City on a real deal championship contending team this year. And Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, the head of the snake over there, the guy getting the job done on both sides of the floor, leading the NBA in steals, over 30 points per game as well. But Joel Embiid is the story of tonight, and that was the most impressive individual performance that we've seen from him this season. The playmaking, his ability to pick teams apart, this was a different way that I've seen him win a game. That some of the passes to Tobias Harris, who finished with 24 points, the two-man game with him and Maxey, where he was spraying out to Maxey for three-pointers, Nico Batum, who had a great game, made some huge winning plays down the stretch for this team. It was all Joel Embiid at the epicenter of it. And not just the confidence, the willingness to defer to his teammates and allow them to take over in moments, but the ability to execute some advanced passes in a way that we have not seen from him. Nick Nurse deserves a ton of credit for getting the most out of Joel Embiid as a playmaker. And I've said throughout the season so far that I don't think the difference between Nick Nurse and Doc Rivers, like, I think that's more to credit for this growth as a playmaker than Joel specifically as a skill set. That there's passes that Joel is making this year that simply weren't available last year or under the past 3 years under Doc Rivers. That when the offense is give it to Joel Embiid at the elbow and everyone else stand around and watch, there's not clean playmaking opportunities for him to capitalize on. But with Nick Nurse, when you see this off-ball motion, the down screens, the pin downs, the guys' backdoor cuts, Kelly Oubre getting down there, those are opportunities for Joel to create looks for others. And the Sixers, and Joel Embiid specifically, are doing a great job of capitalizing on it. That there's way more athleticism, there's way more dog on this roster, and Embiid is leading the charge with that way. Now, Embiid handled things with grace, that after giving Nikola Jokic the work on national television, despite the obnoxious noise of Stan Van Gundy, who was absolutely god-awful on the mic, the over-the-top Tobias Harris love, the just slandering Embiid for a straight 5 minutes straight as Embiid is carving up this Nuggets defense was unlistenable. I was even taking to Twitter, directly tweeting at Stan Van Gundy, which I just never really do, but I could not take it anymore. I hit my breaking point, but Joel Embiid was taking care of business on the court, and that's the most important thing. There was also a cool moment after the game that Embiid and Jokic kind of talking to each other post-game, and it was asked, what did Jokic say to Embiid? And I thought this was a very cool moment here that Embiid said, I just told him he's the best player in the league. Embiid went on to talk about how the Nuggets are obviously the defending champs, that they hold the throne right now, and until somebody knocks him off, he has to pay that respect. But I do think that should be noted that in the context of things, as there's these ugly Twitter wars and online wars between Nuggets and Sixers fans and Jokic and Embiid fanboys, that in the end, Jokic and Embiid have gone out of their way to have the utmost respect for each other, to make the right comments, to praise each other, and that is how it should be. That in this era of NBA basketball, which is so guard dominant, so wing dominant, it's very cool that really the top two players over the past 4 or 5 seasons have been big men. That it is Nikola Jokic and it is Joel Embiid. And they do it in drastically different ways on the floor. Embiid truly being one of the most elite scorers of all time, as a guy that is just so dominant from the mid-range, so capable in the post, a guy that just, there is no answer in a one-on-one setting from a scoring perspective. And then there's Nikola Jokic, who is one of the highest IQ players we've ever seen. His ability to make passes, not just a good playmaker for a big man, but one of the great playmakers, period. And to pair that with his rebounding, which really showed face today, part of that was because of the lack of matchups, that when we're seeing Nico Batum or Tobias Harris or Marcus Morris on Jokic, he was really punishing them on the board. So that's kind of something to consider moving forward when we think about these matchups, is that is where Jokic was able to punish this team because he did have a significant size advantage. That's where we got kind of look more towards the Embiid versus Jokic, getting them one-on-one a little more. But that's something to consider moving forward. But I do think it is interesting and really cool that these guys do have a respect for each other. And I do love that Joel Embiid went out of his way to say that. Now, I also wouldn't have minded if he made a comment like, I'm taking the throne tonight or I'm holding the crown, because he deserves it after a night like tonight. But it is cool to me that Joel Embiid going out his way to make a point. And believe me, he does hear the noise. That when asked about kind of the comments about him ducking, when there was speculation that he might not even play in this one leading up to it, that he was asked about this following the Rockets game, and Embiid said, quote, I don't know where that came from, Joel Embiid said. That's funny because every single team that I play against, I think I dominate, and we win and put up numbers necessary to win. So I think that's why you can't read too much into it, because one of the main things that I see is as soon as you use the name Joel Embiid, that's going to get you a lot of likes and that's going to get you a lot of money. So as long as my name has a chance to help somebody make some money, then I'm for it. Keep trolling. I like it. I love it. And that fully referring to the comments about him ducking smoke, him not playing, him being a guy that only gets it done against the Wizards and the Pistons. But not tonight. Not tonight. Joel Embiid getting the job done against the best of the NBA. Joel Embiid being the reigning MVP, but the 2-time MVP before him, his predecessor in that line. And you know what? This could be part 3, or part 4 at this point, that we might be running for another Nikola Jokic, Joel Embiid MVP race down the stretch. The biggest hurdle that should be noted, and I do want to address, is, of course, the games played. That if Joel Embiid gets to 65 games this year, he should be the MVP of the league. There should be no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Now, I get it. There is still plenty of basketball left to be played. Somebody could take the next step and pass him in that lead, but there is no person playing basketball on this entire planet that is playing at a higher level than Joel. And my biggest pitch about Joel is he has some more ups and downs than I would say your average superstar. If you think about like a Kevin Durant or a LeBron James or Nikola Jokic, their bad games are a little bit higher floor for that Joel does have those off games that he looks really bad. But when he plays his absolute best, there's no player that can reach that level. There is no other human being in this world that can reach that level of elite basketball. his two-way dominance, the way he changes the game defensively, the way he's now showing as a playmaker, and of course, the all-time great scorer he is. Joel Embiid is an all-time great basketball player in the prime of his career. Let's appreciate him for what he is. Let's give him the recognition for winning this MVP race in the way that he is, and I cannot wait to see what the rest of the season has in store. I pray that we see a Sixers versus Nuggets NBA Finals at a point in time. I hope it's this season, that this Sixers team, I am buying the hype. I am believing the way that they compete, the pieces that they have, the way that Nico Batum makes a difference. He had a crucial block down the stretch, hit a big three. Kelly Oubre bringing his attitude. Pat Bev making some huge winning plays. This might be the team that has the pieces, and Joel Embiid is the forefront of all of it. So shout out to Joel Embiid for giving Nikola Jokic 40 points on national television again this season. I will never forget the 47 that he dropped. Had a chance to be on press row for that last year, and I will never forget that very moment where Embiid hits that step back three. We walk into the press room once that game ends. Doc Rivers sits down, slams his fist, and said, "That's the MVP of the league right here." Well, I feel the exact same way after tonight, that was one of those moments for Joel Embiid that should be recognized as such. I know Nurse didn't quite bring that same fire to this press conference after this one, but still happy that he is the guy leading the charge. And shout out to Joel Embiid for managing to finally win that MVP and then getting better by every area in basketball he seems to have improved on. More points, more rebounds, more assists, more blocks, more steals in fewer minutes per game. That just does not happen. So shout out to Joel Embiid. Appreciate him while he is here. I am so hyped that he is back in his MVP race. I am so hyped that this is translating to team success for this Sixers team, and I cannot wait to see what the ultimate outcome is. Thank you guys for tuning in this video. Appreciate you guys letting me get all fired up about Joel. Make sure you smash that subscribe button, hit a like, drop a comment. Let me know your thoughts. How hyped are you after that game? Do you believe in this team? Are you starting to buy in the same way that I am? And I will talk with you next time right here on Sixers Digest. Peace.